Alright, so those of you who are wondering, we're the ones that sunk the Ranger at Durhamtown, and specifically the person behind the camera sunk it. For anyone who's curious, she's not a noob. She's been driving since she was 10 years old. There was a miscommunication. She drove forward. She couldn't see me saying drive left. It's fine. We'll resolve that later. There was actually a 4-foot wall on the other side of the water that was just below the water line that she couldn't see. And it tipped her up, flipped her over. That's where we started the story, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drain the oil. We're going to fill it up with diesel fuel, crank it over somehow, probably with the clutch, or if the starter works, we'll use the starter. We're going to disconnect the fuel line, take the plugs out, and make sure there's not going to be any compression issues so we don't damage the engine. After we do that, we're going to drain the fluid again. We're going to change the filter. We're going to do it again. We're going to cycle the engine. This is going to get all the water out of the engine because diesel fuel absorbs water. So we're going to do that about 3 times, and then we're going to fill it up with cheap 5W20 with a fresh filter. We're going to plug it in. We're going to check the gas tank. Now on this model, the gas lines are actually here on this left-hand side. So this is the vent tube for the transmission and the gas tank, and they go all the way up into here. So it's possible and very likely we got no water in there, and we're very hopeful of that. Now I smelled the gas. The gas still smells like gas. It doesn't smell contaminated. Anybody knows what I'm talking about? Has ever had a Sea-Doo or something like that? You know what I'm talking about. It just smells off. So we're going to do that. I believe the water infiltrated through the intake because it went underwater. Came down in here, came into the air box. Now it couldn't get through the butterfly valve, but it did go through the oil, this crankcase oil breather. So it went through there and it filled up the crankcase. So, and I also have an oil water separator down here, which didn't stop the problem. But alright, so the next moment you see underneath here, you're going to see me draining the water. So here we go. Let's see how much water's under there. Go ahead and get down the back right there. Right down here in the back. It's going to be right here. Alright, you ready? Here we go. I'd say it's got some water in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's some water. I wonder how long it's going to be.
Jeez. That's a lot of water. And yeah, we're laughing about it because you know what? At this point, there's nothing else we can do but laugh.
Oh, man.
I think Julian said, take the good with the bad. Well, we've had a lot of good. This is our first bad.
Yeah. Other than all the mud.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Holy cow.
It's been 40 seconds.
We may have to stop this and empty this out and do it again. Oh, there comes some oil.
Oh.
Alright, I'm going to stop it and let's empty this out.
Nasty.
Yeah, well.
All of that was water.
All of that was water. Alright, let's pause for a moment. Okay, so now we're actually going to drain the oil. Now that we got the, I don't know how much water that was, but
almost a minute of footage.
that was a lot of water. Still some water in there, hence why we're going to do the diesel fuel flush. So if you look at this oil, it doesn't look bad, but it has that milky caramel color to it, which means it's got some type of contaminants in there. So definitely gonna have to change it, and if you don't ever change it after a water intrusion like that, you're gambling something serious. I don't think anybody would ever tell you, no man, you're good. If they do, walk away from that person
They're not your friend.
and block them from your life forever because they're not your buddy. So, and just so you know, Julian from Adrenaline Junkies, you know, he talked to me yesterday and he mentioned the diesel fuel, which I've heard that before. The last time we flooded this engine, it didn't get into the crankcase. It only got into the exhaust, through the exhaust valve, and got into one of the cylinders. So we actually didn't have any oil in it, but we did flush it out with transmission fluid last time. I read up on the diesel fuel, and I agree with Julian. That's probably the best thing you can do because it absorbs moisture and things like that. So we're going to let this drain out, and we'll catch up back in a minute after we get this draining out. So this is not a boring video. Alright, so that's dripping pretty good. We're going to go ahead and plug that off, seal it back up again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the plugs out of it. We're going to disconnect the fuel line because we don't want to feed gas into the injectors while we're doing this, just in case it has water in it. We don't want to contaminate those. I'm not an expert on this, but I have stayed in a Holiday Inn Express before, so that does make me smarter than most. So we're going to go up top, get the plugs out, and go from there. So just give us about 5 minutes, and we're also going to pull this box off and check all this and get all the water out of it. But we're going to take the plugs out of here, see what's on top of the engine. If there's water on top of the engine, which I probably guess there will be, it'll come shooting out when we turn the engine over. We also need to try to jack it up and drain the muffler because most likely there's water all in this muffler.
Definitely water.
Because we weren't able to pull it out. We weren't able to pull it out. We had to pull it out backwards, so we need a chance to drain anything. So just bear with us. We'll be right back. La, la, la. That's not a spark plug. So it's going to be hard getting this out. Alright, we'll just blow those out with the compressed cylinders. Unless I can find my spark plug socket somewhere. They're like 10mm wrenches and 10mm sockets. You can never find one when you need one. So. Alright. Got that done. Yeah, we can't really see down in there right now. Let me find something to get those spark plugs out. Oh, there it is, right there. Well, I ain't gonna pull them out. I didn't think I'm gonna pull them out well. Alright, well, we'll figure out a way to get them out of there. Well, get them out at least. There we go. Can't tell if there's water on there, but we'll find out in a few minutes. I don't know if we can see down in there and see if there's any water on top of the cylinder, but let's take a look. Yep. I believe I see some shimmering of something down in there. So we'll disconnect all the fuel and stuff like that, make sure the engine doesn't start over, and then we'll bump it over and get some of that water out of there, fill it up with diesel fuel first. Alright, so we're going to fill up these empty oil cans so we don't put too much inside.
Is it dripping?
Yeah, it's dripping on us. We don't put too much inside there. So we got one right there.
Should probably open that.
Yeah, I got it. Here, hold it. So since this is a 2-quart capacity, we'll just put 2 quarts of diesel fuel in there. And then we'll turn it over and see what happens. Okay. Alright, let's see. We need to get all these off of here. Disconnect fuel line over here so it doesn't push fuel up into. Just gonna unplug the fuel pump. There we go. Let's see if it makes a noise. Nope. Alright, let's take a look back there and see what comes out.
Oh
Ready?
gosh, wait, is it gonna make a... Is it gonna, like...
Yeah, it's gonna splatter.
Oh.
You ready? I'll put my foot on the brake.
Oh my gosh! Is it bad if it gets in my eyes?
It's just water.
Oh.
Water come out?
Yeah. Well, now it's just mist.
That's good. Huh?
More's coming out.
Alright. Let me lift the front end up. Make sure that muffler's not full of... I mean, is anything come out of the muffler at all?
I have
Probably
no
not.
idea.
There's no compression. There's no muffler.
Oh god. Oh,
Yeah, that was impressive, wasn't it? Alright, let's pause it for a minute until we figure out. We jack the front end up. We're going to see if we can get a little more water out of there. Hopefully get it out of the engine.
I want to stand.
Alright, let's go ahead and tear open the intake side. Make sure the intake, take all this off and get all the, we're going to take all this off, make sure there's nothing but water in there, drain that if there's any water in it, and we'll keep on going, see where all the water's at.
Hopefully.
Yep. Well, we found more water.
That's after it already spilled out.
So definitely the intrusion was the intake. I don't think it came in anywhere else. And this airbox is sealed.
Yeah.
It's RTV and everything, so it don't even come apart very easily. So I'll have to break this open later, get a new air filter in it.
Golly. We got puddles and puddles.
Yeah, sweep that water out of here. Alright, so we took the intake off. That definitely had some water in it. So that's not good. We'll have to let that dry out. So this is going to be a little bit longer repair than I thought. We're going to have to let some things dry out. And that's just the way life is, right? We're going to turn it over again. We got the intake box off. Go look at the valve.
Oh, hey.
What?
This is getting water out of it.
Where's the water coming from?
There.
From the muffler?
Mm-hmm.
The muffler's getting water, so there's water in the muffler. For sure. Look on top of them valves again. Looks like we got all the water out of there.
Well, enough.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, well this is going to take a little longer than I thought. So, once we make a little bit of progress, we'll update. Alright. So as you can look up top, we took the intake off, we took a bunch of things off. We got water out of the intake, got water out of the top of the cylinders, we got water out of the crankcase, we filled it up with diesel fuel. This is our first filter, the original filter was on it, so now we're going to change the filter, we're going to put more diesel fuel back in it, and then we're going to cycle the engine again. So this is our first drain. You can see the color of that fuel. All kinds of mess coming out.
Yeah. It's orange.
Yeah, that milky color, that's not good. That's water. Now, everybody knows diesel fuel will absorb water, so that's why we're using it.
I think there's a ton of air in there.
Yeah, let me crack the top here. Now it's probably draining a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So it tells me that there's still a good seal all in the engine. The compression in the engine seems to be good still. I haven't put any tools on it, but alright. Now we need to drain the oil filter and we'll refill it up and do this again. Okay, so this had water in it. We got the water out of it. The water was in the engine. There was water in the clutch box. There was water in the muffler. We've drained all this out. We did our third diesel fuel. We've now got 5W20 cheap motor oil in there and a cheap Microtech. So let's crank it up and see what happens. Looks like she's okay. We're going to leave this all in there probably for about a couple of engine hours, and then I like to put some like Microtech in there, some other stuff folks may call snake oil, but honestly if it helps it helps, if it doesn't it doesn't, I don't know, but I'm going to put something in there to protect that engine from the water damage. I used some E3 spark plugs in there. and I use the same spark plugs, and they're fine. So I'm going to let this run until she heats up to operating temperature, and then I'm going to check things, check the oil, blah blah blah, and but I think we're okay.
Yay!